How is Brett Favre part of a $77 million scandal that's affecting the poorest of the poor in the state of Mississippi? Let's start with this. The $77 million in fraud or scandal, whatever you'd like to call it, was not all on Brett Favre. He's only a small part of a bigger issue, but he did account for a good portion of this, roughly getting $8 million in what is considered to be fraudulent money. This story was originally broken by Anna Wolf of the Mississippi Today and Ashton Pittman of the Mississippi Press. They did the larger part of reporting and getting behind the details of this story. Brett Favre, just to start, is an NFL icon and Hall of Famer. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever live, playing a position that many consider to be the most important in the game of football. He's fourth all-time in career passing yards, he's defeated all 32 teams in the NFL, and has the record for most consecutive games started at 321 games, 297 games in the regular season, and 24 postseason playoff games. If we're just counting regular season 16 games, that's roughly 20 years straight of starting, without missing a beat. Let's not forget, he's a three-time NFL MVP and a one-time Super Bowl MVP during his Super Bowl victory with the Green Bay Packers in 1997. Throughout his NFL career, he had roughly $140 million in earnings, which is technically low if you consider what people are making today. His successor for the Green Bay Packers, which was Aaron Rodgers, just signed a 3-year, $150 million extension. But to add to the $140 million, he also brought in roughly $60 million in endorsement money, with major brands like Nike, Sears, Wrangler, MasterCard, and many more. He also owned Brett Favre Steakhouse, and he was a big-time major investor in Green Eagle CBD. Then Brett Favre got caught up in something big. $77 million of funding that was intended to go to the poorest residents of Mississippi. It could be the largest corruption case in the state of Mississippi, and here's how it breaks down. In 2014, Brett Favre invested $1 million in a biomedical startup called Prevacus, which thought they found the cure to concussions. Why did Brett Favre get involved, you may ask? Well, he claims he has hundreds, if not thousands, of concussions during his NFL career, through practices, games, and probably even before he was in the NFL. Unfortunately, the fundraising was not going well. It was 2018, and Prevacus was nowhere near reaching market. To use football terms, Brett Favre needed a Hail Mary. So at the time, he reached out to his friend and Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant for some help. This is almost like it's straight out of a movie. It's third and long, and we need you to make it happen. Brett Favre texted Governor Bryant. "I will open a hole," replied Bryant, keeping the football metaphor alive. Well, that hole secured $2.1 million of fundraising for Brett Favre and Prevacus. The lawsuit allegedly states that it also brought $5 million for a new volleyball court at Southern Mississippi. At the time, his daughter played for the volleyball team, so building a brand new volleyball court and volleyball center kind of makes sense that Brett Favre wanted to do that. On top of it all, somehow Brett Favre secured $1.1 million in funding for himself through a welfare fund. Favre has since repaid the $1.1 million, which he claims he got from speaking events that some think allegedly never actually happened. He's also being asked to repay the $2.1 million investment for Prevacus. But oddly enough, the $5 million to the volleyball center at Southern Mississippi University is not being asked to be repaid. Not quite sure how that's going to help the poor residents of Mississippi, but it's a nice volleyball court for the team and the university. You could say that at least. How did this all happen? Bad judgment, CTE, the wrong friends, the wrong group of people around him? We're not sure. But this sure might tarnish Brett Favre's legacy to his fans and a lot of people that loved him, to a lot of people that loved him on the field. This is not a great look. You hate to see a prominent athlete, a multimillionaire, get into such shady business and shady deals in general. It's safe to say that Brett Favre's $8 million is only a smaller part of a $77 million fraud scandal by the state of Mississippi, and the governor has even more explaining to do. This is not how you want to see Brett Favre go from a prominent career, beloved by fans in Green Bay and throughout the NFL, to being somebody that's part of a scandal, taking $8 million on himself and $77 million on the Mississippi government from the poorest residents of the state. I hope something gets cleared up here and maybe we don't have to look at Brett Favre in this light anymore. But for now, that is the story. And I'm Sammy on Tap. My real name's Sammy Jarjour, SAMI on tap on all platforms if you want to find me. And if you love sports content, I always do stories, different sporting events, different things just in the sports world. And I'd love for you to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to show me some support. It means the world to me. And thank you for stopping by today.